Hey Kim, welcome back. I'm excited to have another video together, another opportunity to practice. So for this video, I wanted to do a Yin class. I've actually had you experience Yin a couple times with me, which is really nice. And I think that it could really benefit you on the days where you're feeling stuck or emotionally frustrated or stressed or overwhelmed energetically. Yin has a really beautiful capacity to move beyond the body and into the emotions and into the energy. Just a brief explanation, which I've kind of explained to you before, but Yin is targeting the fascia. So if you wanted to Google fascia or the term myofascial release, myo as in muscle, and then fascia as in the network of fascia, there's a lot that comes up. So this is a field of study that goes pretty deep. It's relatively new, and the fascia can be thought of as your subconscious. We could also think of this term, the body keeps the score. So if you've ever heard of anyone reference things, how we store emotions in our tissue, we store trauma in our body, things like that. Memories are stored in the memory of our cells. Actually, water, the molecule of water, has a really high capacity for memory. So things that have happened to us in the past, especially on the emotional and energetic level, get stored in the body. And mentally, we might not be able to perceive this. It's not something that's really in our conscious awareness. It's deeper at layers that go beneath the conscious, or yes, beneath your consciousness. um, that's what subconscious is. It's those things that are happening in the background that we don't even know are happening. We're not aware of it. It's not in front of us. We don't see it or feel it or smell it or taste it. We don't know that it's happening, but it is. And so sometimes when you're having an emotional response to a situation, or maybe your mood is just a little bit off, and rationally you can't really figure out why, it's probably something happening deeper at the subconscious level. And so yin yoga is a style that helps us to connect more with the subconscious. And we're doing this through the body because the body is what's holding on to all of that. And so in order to access it, we need to go to where it's being stored. Um, so yin doesn't have to be that deep. It could just also feel really good to just do these practices, and it could feel energetically opening and releasing, and so that is enough. You don't really have to think about it too much. Just let the practice work on you and remain open and willing to receive and open and curious to possibility. So I thought that a yin class could really benefit you, especially on those days when emotionally or energetically you're feeling a little iffy or a little bit off and you don't really know why. And that's okay. You don't have to figure it out. This is going to be a shorter class, so it might feel like it flies by. I highly recommend putting on something warm, wearing cozy socks. Um, you might want to include a playlist going on in the background. I think having meditative music can really help foster the transition into meditation so that your thinking mind has something to kind of anchor to. Um, so I'll link a playlist for you. And we're pretty much going to get right into it. So for yin, it's really useful to have props, and they can be non-conventional yoga things. I have my 2 blocks and 2 blankets. It's also really, really great to just look around your space, grab some cushions, grab a pillow, grab something that's soft and supportive. For your reference, I'll just show you what a bolster looks like. So this is a yoga prop. We do not have them at OG, but this is a bolster. I just got it today. um, they're so comfortable and amazing. So if you have something that kind of resembles this kind of size and shape, that's cool too. I don't know, maybe you have a random pillow hanging around that sort of looks like this. Um, you don't need this. I'm going to show the whole class without it, but just for your reference. So once you've gathered your things, once you feel cozy and comfortable and you're in a quiet space, your music is going, we're going to start with a little bit of breathing. So you can either come lie down on your back, which might be the most comfortable in constructive rest, with your feet a little wider than hip distance and your knees resting in towards each other. Or if you prefer to start in a seat, you can come to a seat, maybe even put your back against the wall if that's available. It doesn't really matter what you choose. I just want you to choose something that allows you to feel a bit restful. So I find that sometimes coming to the back is the best. And rest your hands on the belly. If you're seated, you could rest the hands on the thighs. Let's just start with a few deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Start to relax your face in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just start to soften, maybe visualizing from the top of the head all the way down to the toes. Signaling to your body that it's time for your practice. And just feel the breath moving beneath your palms, that physical connection to the sensation of breathing. And whatever thoughts that come up, you don't have to push them aside. You can allow the thoughts to arise. You can welcome them. Invite all parts of yourself into the practice. Whatever busyness from your day that occurred before this, whatever feelings, emotional qualities, whatever mood you're experiencing right now, welcome all of that. Allow it to be here. Allow it to be present. Meditation is not about clearing your mind. It's about being present. And sometimes things come up because it's part of this present moment. So it's okay. It's okay if you have thoughts. It's okay if the mind is busy. Just simply observe it and try not to judge it. That's the key. Observe without judgment. Let's start to bring a little bit of structure to the breath. So you can take an inhale for a count of 6, pause at the top for 2, and then exhale for a count of 8. And I'm going to allow you to do this on your own. So inhale for 6, pause for 2, exhale for 8. And just start to feel how the breath slows, still staying connected with your palms on the belly. And take maybe 2 more rounds of this pattern. Finishing out that last round. And then release any counting, any structure, and just let the breath move freely. at this slower pace that you've now set. And you can think of breathing with your whole body from head to toe, letting every bit of you breathe, feeling connected and grounded. Maybe shift your hips to one side and roll to a fetal position to the other side. And then gently bring yourself to an upright seat facing the front of your mat. We're going to start with a forward fold called butterfly in Yin. So you can sit on the ground with or without a blanket. I'll show it without because it might feel good to use your blanket in another way. Bring the feet together. So this is like Baddha Konasana, soles of the feet together. It might feel good to take a blanket and maybe like roll it so that it's a little bit thicker. And that's going to either go right on your feet, or we're going to stack it a little bit higher and place blocks on top of the feet and then drape the blanket over it, and then take a forward fold with your head on the blanket. Now you'll just have to kind of balance your blocks so that they don't fall. So you could hold them with your hands. If there's a different version that feels more secure, maybe you put the blanket down first. You could take one or two blocks, maybe turn it this way and rest your forehead on the block. That could feel good too. So the goal is to find a forward fold that you're able to maintain and somewhere to rest your head. So whether your head is resting on the block or the blanket. And this is going to open the hips and the groins, as well as release the spine. So once you find your pose, you're going to stay and breathe with your whole body. So you can start to feel how your spine is getting a really beautiful release. You're creating space in between the vertebra and really softly and gently stretching the joints. These poses in Yin are not about achieving a certain look or willing or forcing the body into a shape. It's about softening and allowing the body to do what it knows how to do. As you bow your head in reverence, grounding your forehead down, you start to open up your back. And this is where your primary channel of energy flows up and down the area of your spine. If you are familiar with the chakra centers, there are 7 energetic centers that lie within the body. And they can kind of be tracked up and down your spine. And there's one that's right above the head. This forward fold is one of the few postures that activates all of your energy centers. And so you can think of each of these centers as spinning wheels. And as you forward fold, the energy of this posture nourishes all of those wheels and helps them to spin in harmony, cycling energy up and down your spine. We'll take 2 more breaths. And then slowly sit yourself back up. And we're just going to move our blocks so they're not too far. Move your blanket. We're going to come into a hip opener. So there's several options for your hip opener. You could do deer pose. I'll show it on the left, but you could start with the right. So you can have the left leg forward, bent almost like pigeon pose. It doesn't have to be parallel. And then your right leg is behind you, also bent. So it's like a 90-90, and the legs can be at any angle. If this is a good one, you can bring your blocks in front of you and then start to fold in line with your pelvis, maybe resting your elbows on the blocks. If you're able to get your elbows to the ground, you can rest your forehead on the block and your elbows on the floor. This is one option. If you prefer to take it more like pigeon pose, this is called swan in yin. So you'll just straighten the back leg. Maybe place a cushion under the hip so there's somewhere for you to land. Again, this one can be a forward fold using your props for support. So choose one of the two and then breathe into the hip. You're welcome to use your blanket under the elbows as well for any of these poses. So if you prefer to have a little like cushion under the elbows, or maybe even rest your forehead in your hands. And so you're finding your first edge, feeling the intensity at a 4, 5, or 6 out of 10. And then find stillness. If there's any resistance in other parts of the body, see if you can make a little adjustment and deepen the breath. In this pose, we're thinking about the glute without pain in the knee. You might take maybe 8 or 9 more breaths. And we'll start to bring weight into the elbows, bring weight into the hands, and come up. We're going to find our first rebound. So it might feel nice to lie on the back and kind of flush that out and feel the energy flowing through the leg that you just stretched. So find a restful shape, intensity at a 1, and just breathe. It's okay if you want to bend the knees and let your knees relax in towards each other. Maybe take 3 more breaths. And you're going to start to shift to a fetal position. Gently bring yourself back up to a seat, and we'll do the other leg. So the second side, you can choose deer pose or swan. Doesn't matter. All that I want you to feel is a stretch in the glute without pain in your knee. And if this leg wants to do something different than the first leg, that's okay too. Just honor what your body is feeling. So you can come into the fold, folding in line with your pelvis in whatever pose you're in. You can use support under your elbows and forearms as blocks or a blanket or a pillow. You can rest your forehead down onto something, grounding your joints so that they're not floating in space. And again, intensity level at a 4, 5, or 6 out of 10. Coming into your first edge and then find stillness. Breathe with your whole body. See if you're holding or tensing anywhere in your body. And introduce the breath a little more strongly to that place. If you want to get curious and maybe enter moving into your second edge, see if there's a way to go a little deeper. That feels appropriate. You are invited to do that now. Finish out one more breath. And slowly, carefully bring your body upright. Come to a rebound. So maybe on your back. If you prefer something different, you're welcome to do a different rebound pose. And we'll rest here for maybe 10 breaths. You might notice the energy swirling through your hips, through your legs, your groin, your pelvis, your lower back. And now we'll start to shift to a fetal position. Take your time. And eventually back up to a seat. You can move slowly, there's no rush. And then from here, we're going to come to the belly. So you might grab a blanket or pillow and put it at the top of the mat. And then come to the belly. And we're going to come into Sphinx. So if you want to place your elbows down onto some sort of cushion or blanket, you're welcome to rest the elbows on something. This could be done with a bolster, a pillow, a blanket, or even blocks. And the hands can do whatever feels good. It's going to start to open the heart, open the chest, and the spine. And you have two options here, and you're allowed to alternate between the two. So it might feel really good to open the heart, to feel that stretch in your neck and that really beautiful extension. Or it might feel really good to round your shoulders and drop your head. Both of these options are beneficial. If the head is dropped, you could even kind of shake the head no really, really slow. And just get a nice, beautiful stretch in the back of your neck. Maybe try both versions of the pose. And what we're doing here, in addition to opening the heart and creating space in the chest, we're also bringing a really healthy amount of compression to your spinal discs. So as we take back bends, it actually compresses the spine. And compression is good. It's like a healthy stress. It's restoring the natural curve in your spine as well. Now from here, you're welcome to stay exactly as you are. Or if you want to get a little bit deeper, you can straighten the elbows, lift up into seal with your hands on the ground. You're welcome to move and reposition your hands wherever you want them to be. So they could be wide, they could be close together. Your fingers can point outward, they could point forward. Your hands could be closer to your body, whatever you need to do. Feeling that gentle stress in your lower back. Now maybe finish out one more full body breath. And then start to lower it down to crocodile, forehead in the hands. So you can move your objects, rest your hands down, rest your head in your hands. Breathe into your back. See if you can relax your shoulders, your shoulder blades, your neck. One more breath. And take a really smooth and soft transition to child's pose. So hands down, push into the arms. You're welcome to place a cushion under the knees if you like. And just come into a nice child's pose, however it feels good for you. So your arms can go however you want to put them. And from here as well, you can start to breathe into your lower back. Breathe into the hips and the groin. Let's take one more breath. And softly transition back to tabletop. Take your time. From here, you're welcome to maybe take some little wrist circles. Really soft movement if it feels good. Start to observe what's going on beneath the surface. We're going to set up for one more pose. This is going to be our heart bench. So this is that nice big chest opener. You are pretty familiar with how to set this up for yourself. So I'll invite you to place your blocks in like the letter T with a little space between them, and maybe place a blanket over the one that's going to be on your back. And so it could take you a moment to set this up. You're allowed to change the pose. So if you want to make your blocks higher or lower, you can adjust the height however you need. Make sure the blanket feels good and so that nothing is slipping or sliding. And then you kind of bring your hips to the base of your one block. And then make sure that you're setting it up in a way that feels good on your spine. And then the one under your head, you can kind of just like move around once you get your spine set up. So really that first block is the most important. And the legs, it might feel really good to just like cross the ankles and have the knees bent, or it could feel really nice to straighten the legs. There's kind of this like extension of your energy through the legs, through the toes. So once you find your heart bench, just resolve to be still. And so we might take about 10 more breaths. And start to fill the heart center with breath, with energy, with love. Feel its radiant warmth. And then really gently, slow, slow, slow. We're going to bend the legs in if they're not already bent, feet on the ground. Kind of shift your hips to the right and then roll softly to the left. So you're kind of coming into a fetal position, falling off of your blocks. We're going to take a moment just to move all of that out of the way so that you can come lie down on your back again. And we'll take a little rebound. If you prefer a different rebound pose, maybe child's pose or lying on your belly in crocodile, you could do that too. Deepen your breath. Be still. Now from here, depending on where your body is, whatever rebound you chose, you're either going to draw your knees to your chest if you're on your back, or if you happened to come to the belly, come to child's pose. So we're just going to round the back a little bit here. And if you're on your back, it might feel good to really softly sway side to side. This could be super loose. And you're also welcome in this moment to create a little bit of movement if that feels good. Maybe circling the hips or keeping the knees together and circling for your lower back. So this is really up to you. And actually, if stillness feels like the right thing, then stay in that stillness. Keep your body still. In the next few moments, we will set up for Shavasana. So I want you to get as comfortable as possible, to use your blankets and pillows to support the body in any way that you know how. So if you want to elevate the legs or kind of roll up a blanket and put it behind your knees like a towel, I want you to do absolutely everything you can to get comfortable. Make sure your body is warm. You have socks on. And then once you find your version of a restful shape that feels like a one, breathe into your whole body. Notice what has shifted. You don't need to find the words to describe it. You don't need to rationalize it. You don't even have to use your mind to perceive it. Simply feel into what is. Feel into the sensations that are swirling through you energetically. For the remainder of this session, I'm going to leave you in the silence, appreciating the beauty of the present moment. I will set a timer to allow for a decent amount of time for this Shavasana. And you can stay as long as feels good, closing out for yourself when you're ready. I hope you receive the gifts of this practice and start to tune in, listen to the body.